Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Worley, and I'm a trained mediator for Mountain Mediation Services. And unless any of you know me or have any other further objection, I will be your mediator for today. I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for coming. Since mediation is a voluntary process, your presence here indicates to me that you've come with a sincere desire to seek a resolution. This is an informal hearing, so if it's all right with everybody present, can we please refer to each other with first names? You may call me Michelle.
You.
Okay. I realize that mediation may be new to some people, so the first thing I'd like to do is explain a little bit about the process to you. The purpose of mediation is to try to work out differences that people have through communication between the parties. It is to be a neutral area where we feel like we can air our differences and we can communicate with each other, and we can seek resolution through communication and not through litigation. Okay. Usually the time frame that we like to establish is we usually like to set aside 1 to 2 hours. Usually we can, through communication, reach a resolution in the 1 to 2 hour mark. But usually 1 to 2 hours is what we like to set aside to work out our issues. The main purpose of mediation is to come to a mutually accepted agreement between the two parties on the issues at hand. Okay. My role as a mediator, I'm here as a neutral facilitator. I am here to just overlook the proceedings and just make sure that they follow the guidelines. I'm not a judge. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm not here to pass judgment. I do not know coming into this what the issues were at hand with each party before. I was not there. So I know really nothing of what the issue was before you guys bring it to the table here. So my role, I'm neutral. I don't favor one side or the other. This is a neutral place that we can work out the agreement. Okay? So before I go any further, let me just explain the process, okay? What's going to happen is that the person who brought the complaint is going to be able to describe the situation from their end. The other party will have their turn as well to describe their end of the situation. We're going to try to look at the issues, and we're going to try to see where we can come to an agreement. We're going to try to generate and examine the solutions that we could have to both the issues that the parties have. And if we do come up with such an agreement, where if we do come to a nice agreement that both parties feel they can live with, we will write an agreement up, and it will allow both parties to go ahead and sign. You may put into the agreement whatever you wish, as long as the other party wishes to agree to it. What I would say is that if we do get to that point, please be very descriptive. I mean, if you want something and the other party agrees to it, make sure it makes it into the agreement, okay? Because you will have that signed, and that will go home with you, and that will be your written version of the agreement to your side of the problem, okay? Before I go any further, I would like to go ahead and read the Mountain Mediation Services consent to mediation form and go ahead and get a verbal consent from both parties, okay? So I'm going to read this out loud, and at the end, if there's no problems or issues, then both parties agree, we'll sign it, and then we'll continue on, okay? This is the consent to mediation. I agree that everything that is said at Mountain Mediation Services is completely confidential, intended for use only as a settlement discussion, and cannot be used by the district attorney or the courts for any purpose. I understand the exception to this rule of confidentiality concerns any information relating to child abuse, neglect, and or abuse of disabled adults, which by law cannot be held confidential. I agree that I will not hold Mountain Mediation Services responsible for any agreements made or the failure to reach any agreement during the mediation. I further agree that I will not involve Mountain Mediation Services, the mediators, employees, staff, board of directors, volunteers, or records of Mountain Mediation Services in any way in any claim or court proceedings. I agree and acknowledge that Mountain Mediation Services gives no opinion regarding the legal effect of this consent to mediation or any agreement or resolution that is reached as a result of mediations. I agree that if a question of legal rights should arise, the party or parties seeking information and or advice should seek that information and or advice from an attorney of their choice. I understand that weapons and physical conflict are not permitted at Mountain Mediation Services. I agree to abide by this policy. I also understand that Mountain Mediation Services retains the right to report any crimes committed on the premises. So Hugh, do you consent to these statements? Mr. and Mrs. Bunny, do you agree to the consent form? Thank you very much. Okay. So going forward, I just would like to mention confidentiality. This room is a neutral area. Nobody else from outside is, involved in this situation, is in here. This is the most confidential place you can be, okay? None of anything that is said between the parties here or your agreement will be discussed with anybody on the outside. No other parties, nobody of legal stance. Everything that's said in here will be between us three. I do have note paper and pens out. If for any reason you feel like the other party is talking and you feel like that there's an issue that you really need to get off your chest and you're afraid you're going to forget, feel free to reach across. We got paper and pens. You can write stuff down on scratch paper. Please note that note taking as part of the confidentiality process will not leave here. We will shred all notes that are taken. Even the notes that I take will not be used. I will not take them home, type them up. They will not be shared with anybody. Everything will be shredded when we leave here. Okay? So, we also, in case things get heated and we need to split up, or if you feel that there's something that you need to say but you cannot say it in front of the other party, but you really feel like that issue needs to be brought up or needs to be known by somebody, please feel free to let me know, because we can split up, we can take a break, we can have a caucus. On the flip side of that, there may be something that comes up that I need to call for a timeout, so to speak, and take one or the other party outside. I may need to have a caucus with you. So just to let you know that in case things either break down, or if you feel like there's just something that needs to be said to me but you can't say it in front of the other party, feel free. We can go ahead and we can take a break. Everybody can take a breather, and we can step outside and we can discuss whatever you need to discuss, privately in the situation, okay? Right now, I'd like to go over the ground rules. Some of our ground rules include that only one person speak at a time, with no interruptions. We would like to be polite and give each party. The party that brought the problem to mediation will be allowed to go first. Doesn't mean that they've got an upper hand in the situation. We just allow them to go first and say their piece. But we ask that one person at a time speak and no interruptions, okay? During the process, at first we would like you to speak to only me, the mediator, okay? If I feel that as you guys are working your problems out and communication is getting better, if you two start to speak to each other and it's on friendly terms and it seems like you're going with a resolution to the problem, that's fine. But for now, why don't we go ahead and just have everything addressed to the mediator at first, okay? One big rule, no weapons at the table. So in case anything has slipped by, right now we ask that if there are any weapons that anybody has, no weapons are allowed at mediation. We would like your cell phones to all be turned off. We would like to just have everybody treat everybody with the politeness and respect that they deserve. And if there's any other questions before we get started, feel free to ask any questions you have now. Any questions, Hugh?
No.
Any questions, Mr. and Mrs. Bunny?